Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. We're just going to do a very kind of brief, probably going to be a briefer one here. Someone should be over here before too long, but I want to go ahead and address this question because a lot of people have asked me this over the last couple of days. It's like, what's my thoughts on Ubuntu now that they have changed this to opt-in? And there is something entirely not too true about all of that. And so I want to talk about this and give you a more detail than I had when I first did the first article, kind of bring in one all-encompassing video about this privacy data collection stuff that we've been talking about here with Ubuntu. And so with that, we're just going to probably hopefully get into all of the questions and all of the comments, all of the concerns, things like that. So let's actually start by going over and having a look at our comments before we go anywhere else. I've got to move myself around a little bit. There we are. So, Harry Tsang, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, in Hong Kong. Greetings. Welcome, Hong Kong. And it's Monday over there. Well, how's Monday? Sunday's still doing okay over there on this side. Jared Cox, greetings. Yes, this is very unusual for me to do a stream at this time during the day, but I was like, I was going to record a video. I'm like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and throw it live. I got the next half hour or so spare. So that's what I'm decided to do. Carbon Programmer, greetings. Farron Developer will be back shortly. Lucid Theming, greetings. System 64, first live stream. Yeah, I usually stream a little later, but I try and do some earlier ones every now and again as well. Logan, hope it's good news. I wouldn't, after doing all the research, I consider it leaning towards the bad, but not, totally DOS computer not connected to the internet being R0, Windows 10 being R10. We're closer to a 3 or a 4. I like to get my things closer to the 1s, 2s, 0s. I don't know. So we'll kind of get in there and get rid of some of what's going on here. Global Medicinal LSD, greetings. And don't trip. Lex Musician, greetings. Azira, how are you? Tried customizing KDE for the first time, set up my sister's media center, and I liked it more than I expected. Cool, very good. I'm using Peppermint OS, new favorite, very good. Hello, Shutter. Is that KI2? There's something in Kitten? I don't know. Is that Kitten? I don't know. How do I pronounce that? Tried installing Debian straight Friday, 2 days, struggled, gave up. Oh, interesting. Sorry to hear that. Ubuntu is just easier to install, but data collection sucks. Can you recommend best laptop to use with Ubuntu Fedora distro? I'll tell you that Ubuntu should work on pretty much anything. Fedora, you know what? For Fedora work, I'd go check out Fast Gadget's channel because he uses Fedora on a regular basis. I'd look at his recommendations for Fedora because I don't often use it. Hello, Keegan, the Tennessean. Something of most virtual systems are unavailable for my region. Yeah, early. This one's early. The volume is fixed for Farron OS. Cool. Identicals gets you to learn traditional. Okay, turning KDE Neon off and on again. Oh, okay. So kind of turns. Okay, there you go, Kitty. Kitty's coming back up. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over and we're going to have a quick look at the original website or the original article that I first talked about when this came out. So this was this is 2 weeks out now, February 14th. Ubuntu wants to start collecting system data. So this is kind of a way of review. But I want to mention here and make it very clear, there are 3 forms of data collection going on inside Ubuntu right now. Okay, well, as of 1804. The first is during the installer. They will be having a new installer which has a button checked by default. You can uncheck it, and that is sending basic system data to Ubuntu. So that's kind of what you see in that image on the screen. What is the model? What is your operating system? What is your kernel, your uptime? I'm guessing uptime's not going to be there because this is an installation. How many packages did you install? You know, various stuff like this. Now, here's the problem with this, okay? Before you're like, you know, I'm not wearing the tinfoil hat. There is a legitimate problem with this. There are people in legitimate fields, legitimate operations who have to be extremely, extremely careful with who knows what about what they're doing. This is what makes Tails one of the best operating systems to use, is because it singularizes what is called the fingerprint of the computer. You can determine a computer somebody's using by this type of data collection. And if this type of data is being collected, it can be used to identify the computer and therefore the person who owns it. That is why a lot of people, particularly in the journalism and activism fields, and I've done a lot of work in the activism fields. I used to actually work with a group that all we did is put up websites for activist groups. Our security had to be pretty hardcore because activists oftentimes are targeted. And so it is a bad thing to have any data about your operating system leaking if you are in that type of field. Now, you have the opt-out ability, and that is good to have an opt-out ability, but a lot of people with the privacy concerns believe that that should actually be an opt-in, not an opt-out. And that is where I stand. I wouldn't have as big a deal with this if it was very clearly an opt-in, not an opt-out. Now, as a brief side note of upcoming attractions, some people have come out and said, well, they have changed that. They have not. I'm going to talk about that next. Before we get into that, the second form of data collection that Ubuntu is doing is they are installing Ubuntu PopCon into the system. This is actually a program that started with Debian, but it is never installed by default. Ubuntu has it installed by default, and as of the daily build, it is not enabled by default. I do not know if this is enabled by default. I conjecture it should not even be installed by default. An option? Sure. Give me another box. Give me one pop-up on that, or one screen on the installation application you're producing because you're creating a new one. Would you like to send Ubuntu data statistics about this system as an opt-in, not an opt-out? Second, would you like to install Ubuntu PopCon? What Ubuntu PopCon does is once a week on a cron job on the computer, it takes a list of all of the applications installed and the reverse order of when you use them. So the most frequently used application on the highest end, the applications you never use on the lowest end, and it sends that data to Canonical once a week. All it is a list of the applications, basically indicating the application and how recent was it used relative to the other applications. That's all it is. It's not measuring how much time do you spend in the application. It's not Windows 10 crazy. Windows 10 actually does that. How much time does this user spend in this application? Windows 10 does that. Ubuntu does not through the Ubuntu PopCon. Okay, but again, to an activist, to a journalist, to a person who has a need for privacy in their life, it is imperative this is not installed on a computer to start. Option to install? Great, no problems. But installed by default, I disagree. As of the daily build, as I said, it is not enabled by default. It's there, but it's turned off. I don't know if it's going to stay in that form or not. The last way Ubuntu collects data is AppPort. So AppPort is the anonymous crash reporting tool. The anonymous crash reporting tool sends all of the same stuff that the original one does. It is now enabled by default. That is a bad thing. Because, again, your activists, your journalists, these people who need to maintain a security and privacy-focused system, they don't want this type of data. It produces a fingerprint, and a fingerprint can be used to de-anonymize them, period. And that is the problem. Especially problematic is the Ubuntu PopCon because the data on the server is synced to a data bit on your computer. It's the user ID number, which is, I think it's AES 128, I think. It's just a random string of keys, but that random string of keys is on your computer and on a Ubuntu server linked to the applications you use and have installed in your system. That is a complete user identifiable fingerprint. That is the problem with it. Okay, so what are they using this data for? A lot of people are saying, well, they're going to start selling this data. I haven't seen evidence of that. They primarily want to collect the data to make Ubuntu better. I don't like that premise, because every time a company starts to say we're collecting this data to make everything better, we start to fall down that slippery slope. And that was my argument. This is the slippery slope. To stay off of the slippery slope, all of these need to be selected whether you want it enabled, selected whether you want it to be installed, and it needs to be opt-in, not opt-out. That is the 3 ways Ubuntu 18.04 is collecting data. Now, you can opt out. You can uninstall Ubuntu Popcon when it first comes out and delete the file. You can uninstall the app port and delete the configuration file. Those are going to prevent your system from sending information to Ubuntu. So if you really like Ubuntu, very easy, opt out on that checkbox, uninstall Ubuntu Popcon, uninstall app port. That's the way around it. If you do that, nothing should be sent to Canonical. The problem that I have, again, is I think all this should be opt-in. I don't think we should have to be doing the steps to opt-out. And of course, they address in this article, you know, they've done it this way because so few users will go through the difficulty of opting in, and we want to collect the data unless they go through the difficulty of opting out. That is a type of strategy that bad, unscrupulous business people tend to make. So that is kind of what is going on there. Let's go and jump back over to the comments. There's a lot of comment activity going, and then we'll patch up the rest part here. Rain here. Oh, a little bit of rain, a little drizzly. Okay. Hit the checkbox. It says to be spied on. Turn it off once it appears on the installer. Yep. All right, man. We'll catch ya. Here we'll count sheep. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's see. New users opt out, upgraders opt in. Yes, Fair OS. This is where we're going. I'm going to be covering this next. Okay. What cloud services do you recommend? Very few. I generally build out my own cloud services on my own servers. So AWS, get your own VPS. That's the only type of cloud stuff I use. I don't use cloud servers otherwise. Good, that's opt-out for upgraders. Yep. Emery, I just covered the basics of what we did. Basically, the last video I did, just a brief thing. Home, office, work, entertainment, gaming. Okay, what is the purpose of using... Oh, okay, that's a question to the person who is asking about computers. This affect Linux Mint and other Ubuntu-based distros? We don't know. Okay, so what we do know, particularly about Linux Mint, is Linux Mint has always resisted this type of collection from Ubuntu. Since this is just 3 applications, an installer, Popcon, and app port, my conjecture, I have not heard anything from the Linux Mint team otherwise, my conjecture is those will not be implemented in Linux Mint. So I don't think this is going to be happening. Other distros, I just don't know. TBF page just option is a waste of ubiquity waiting when the loader next installation stream. How long it takes? Well, I mean, it depends on which step you're on, I guess, for the update. Windows 10 Redstone 4 is more privacy friendly. I completely disagree, System 74. There is nothing in it that is inherently more privacy friendly. All they're doing is giving you an application to see the raw data that's being sent, which is completely useless for most of us and completely useful to people at Microsoft. I haven't seen anything otherwise. Privacy-oriented journalists should not use Ubuntu in the first place, but many of them do. Ubuntu is a very popular Linux-based system. Love how this man rants. Thank you. I love how I rant too. Aha. Good evening, sudo reboot. Will this be an Ubuntu Mate? Most likely, because all the Ubuntu flavors generally would have everything that follows Ubuntu. All they do is change the desktop environment. So most likely it will. But it will have all of the opt-ins, as we said. Okay, so Richard says, go right now to OMG Ubuntu and say, no, it goes against everything we believe in. Yes, a lot of people have. Ubuntu doesn't care. So this will bring us to our next article. Our second article is the one that has been causing some question lately. Ubuntu will let upgraders opt into data collection. And so what people have been asking me is basically assuming that, oh, Ubuntu, after listening, or Canonical, after listening to all of the discussions and debate, it has then become conjecture that what they're going to do now is that they're going to change it to an opt-in. That is not the case. What this article is about, what this release is about, is in the internal discussions, there were questions about how you handle somebody on an upgrade path. So if you're using 1604, you have to specifically upgrade to 1610, which was not part of the long-term stable. All right. But if you were on 1610, you got pushed up to 1704, and then you got pushed up to 1710, and then you'd get pushed to 1804. When you go from 1710 to 1804, you will be prompted as an opt-in. That is what caused some controversy around this article, that caused a little bit of misnomer about what was going on. So the reality is, no, this is not Ubuntu changing their mind to go to an opt-in because of outrage. This is, if you are on the 1710 upgrade path going to the 1804, you will then have to opt in to the data collection on the installer. And I'm not sure where that lies with PopCon or with AppPort. However, AppPort has been installed since 17. I'm not sure if it has been enabled since 17. So that is where that part of the controversy comes into play, is that if you are upgrading to 1804 from an existing Ubuntu, this article makes it clear that you will be prompted as an opt-in. Okay, and the reason they said that is what's happening is there is a new system setting on privacy, and in the privacy you have the option to opt out of the data collection, and that is what they said, that most users wouldn't know to do that right away, and since it wasn't specifically part of the 17 or earlier branches, then they did not feel fair to do that. They're saying that since it's now in the installer, that makes it all the more fair to do that. So that is kind of where they are sitting now in that respect. All right. Peppermint's plan of action. I don't know about Peppermint's plan of action. The last great version of Windows before they did the privacy concerns. Well, the last one before the privacy concerns was 18.1, but that had a lot of controversy around the UI. Most people would agree. I mean, this is a subjective question, of course, but most people across the spectrum tend to agree Windows 7 was the last good Windows build. It just, the appearance, the look, the design, the functionality, the stability. 8 is just Windows 7 with a crappy UI. I mean, I don't mind that as much. The thing that bothered me about 8.1 is when they started forcing SkyDrive on you at the time, and I don't play that game. And, you know, put something in there I can't get rid of, that's a problem. Particularly if it's a cloud-based server type system. And so I think most people would agree 7 would be the best. Yeah, okay, so he agrees Windows 7. Even if you use Windows 7, it has fallen victim to the tracking features. That is correct. If you are on an older version of Windows, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, all of that telemetry has been backported. I can confirm that for sure on the Windows 8 because my Surface has all upgrades applied to it. That thing just, it perpetually is connected to weird servers I can't block. And so I don't really use that computer much anymore. Windows 7, I just put that thing behind a giant firewall and haven't updated it for a while. For better or for worse. Okay, let's go ahead now and we're going to boot up the VirtualBox with Ubuntu on it. And I'm pretty sure I still have Ubuntu installed on my VirtualBox. And then what? Oh, I don't have Ubuntu installed in the VirtualBox. I should still have the. Okay. I do still have the live key, so we're just going to boot into the. We'll go ahead and just boot into the. Boot into the live key. I forgot I had installed Namib on top of it. But anyway, what we're going to look at here is I'm going to show you what this looks like. This is a daily build. Now, this is a daily build, though, from about a week or so ago. So it is going to be slightly out of date with the daily build. But what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you where these features are right now. Of course, the installer on this is not the same installer, so I will not be able to show you that alleged opt-in / opt-out screen. But what I will show you is the popularity contest and the app port settings and the new settings manager. So we're going to go ahead and have a look at that if the computer ever starts up. Hope someone comes along in the Linux world that can really work on the audio to where it can give musicians like me flexibility in routing the audio signal to allow multiple software and hardware. I believe that that's part of what Wayland is trying to do. All right, try. There we are. All right, so here we are installed in. This is a daily build. Of course, this is a daily build from a few days back, so it's not the most up-to-date, but it should be not too bad. Okay, so we're going to log in here to the settings. Okay, so inside of your settings, under your privacy, this one, problem reporting automatic, this is the app port one. So you'd want to come over here, turn off that for app port. That should get rid of app port. I believe you can also uninstall app port. Let's just give it a try. Sudo apt. So sudo apt remove app port is going to remove the error reporting system. So that's the one you want to remove. The other one you want to remove is the popularity -contest. Of course, I have to spell contest right. You have to remove popularity contest. And then, of course, having opted out of your original build, that's actually how you get rid of that. Of course, the file you want to look at, you want to do sudo nano etc popularity contest.cnf. This is actually the page that will show you the information. So this is actually will tell you if PopCon's even installed on your computer or not. This is that host ID that is linked to the Ubuntu server. So every week when this does its data push, it takes this ID and it links this ID back into Ubuntu servers, and then this ID is a list of every software installed and how frequently you use it. This is that fingerprint that can be used to identify an individual. Participate set to no. In order to turn this on, you'd either have to hit participate yes, or you actually just run the depackage-reconfigure popularity contest. That will give you a screen to say yes or no in that. And then, of course, there's other information here as well. So that is your all of the stuff. So if you do those two things, delete those two, opt out of that opt-in box, Ubuntu's not going to send any data. What data is being used and why? It's being used to determine how far and how wide Ubuntu gets installed. And that is the biggest thing that people are talking about. I don't particularly think that's a seriously important issue, but it is, I guess, what it happens to be. All right. Can never get into Ubuntu, too ugly out of the box. I actually like the way the GNOME desktop looks. I like the dash to dock and launcher. It's just a resource hog. Yeah, I don't care for, I don't really care for any of it, really. All right. So Popcorn on Debian, but it asks you to install it if you want it. Yes. So Popcorn is a Debian-based program. Yes. And all of the stats on that are actually publicly available. And that's kind of the importance about that. All right. How happens if you change the fingerprint? Well, again, what a fingerprint is on a computer is a fingerprint is all of the details. What is your screen resolution? What is your internet connectivity? What is your hardware configuration? That is your computer fingerprint. The ID code isn't your fingerprint itself. The ID code matches your computer to Ubuntu's computer. If you change that fingerprint, it goes to Ubuntu as a new computer build. But the fingerprint of your computer, like the fingerprint on your hand, is fairly unique to any individual computer because the fingerprint contains a lot of information, including, in some instances, some serial numbers of some of the equipment that you have. And so all of that information is what can be used to demask somebody. All right, I think that's the end of the comments, and oh, there's a few more comments coming in. You think that Linux will be having more market share in the near future? I think as more people start questioning more things in society as a whole, yes, I think that more people are going to be starting to move towards Linux more. Because a lot of people don't even realize that Linux exists in the form it exists. A lot of people, if they've even ever heard of Linux, they look at Linux as simply, you know, just command line, scary command line type stuff. They don't realize the power of what Linux can do, or the fact that a lot of the software people are buying is software that you can get nearly the same exact capabilities on a, you know, on a Linux build. For free without having to pay for the extra software. Like, especially as more and more software is going towards subscription models, small startup companies, they can't afford these subscription models. Take a startup game company, $185 a month for 3ds Max for building video game models. That's insane. That starts to happen. People are like, we just don't have the money for that. They start looking around for other options. They're like, Blender. Well, that works in open source. Of course, it works on Windows, works on Mac. But then they're like, a lot of the Blender tutorials you might find are kind of based more on Linux. Let's start looking into Linux. Holy crap, I can do all my Office software without having to pay Microsoft, you know, all this extra money. I have the capabilities of all the things. The question about the software is, it's not, does this piece of software run on Linux? It's, what task do I need to accomplish, and is there a tool on Linux to do it? That's the question we need to start getting into. And as more people start realizing that the answer to that is yes, we can do these tasks on Linux, more people will move over because it works on the same type of hardware for a lot cheaper without having all these changes forced on you, because the reality is a lot of people don't want all these changes forced. Look at the Snapchat outrage. Was it Snapchat, I think? Or was it Instagram? I don't know. One of those social media picture-based apps that I don't use. One of those just last week changed their theme. It caused 1.2 million people to complain about it. So they responded to the petition. They're like, yeah, we don't care. You're really going to love what you're going to do next. If those 1.2 million people actually said, well, you know what? You're not listening to us, so let's move to something else, they might actually listen. But people are going to deal with it. That's the problem. So, yeah, I think Linux market share is going to go up for all those aforementioned reasons. Arch is probably less stable, less compatible with Linux Mint install, probably. That's not nearly as creepy as Windows 10 for sure. But it's causing me to question their motives, and that's a scary thing. Give a try on Ghost BSD. I'll think about it. The reason why people are afraid of Linux is YouTubers showing a lot of command interfaces in their Linux reviews, despite sometimes there's a GUI. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like, I was watching one popular Linux YouTuber today doing a video, you know, looking at Linux Mint and some other things, and he's not even giving the thing a chance. You know about Elementary? I gave the stupid thing a chance 3 times on real hardware. And I identified objective things that were problematic. You know who's pushing Elementary as a good OS? The people who live in the command line. And if you boot up Elementary OS and do everything in the command line, it actually tends to work. But their GUI is broken to all get out. And that's a problem with it. That too many people are too focused on the terminal stuff. And then telling people, you know, well, it's Linux, use the terminal. That's a baby step to me. The reason I use Linux Mint is I can get back to my work. I am not some computer scientist guy sitting in my back corner of my office trying to get some geeky piece of software or hardware working. That's not my task. I have a job to do. I have work I need to do. I need a system that works without me spending 8 hours today trying to fix it. Linux Mint is that system. A lot of the other systems people want to push are not. I completely agree. Too many YouTubers pushing too much about the command line and not enough about the powers of Linux for the average computer user. It's what Ubuntu's done a good job at. An average system for an average computer user. They're getting into this territory here, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Well, Harry, there's the cool thing about Ubuntu is the Ubuntu flavors give you nearly any desktop environment. I'm sure there's a deepened one at this point, but yeah, Android is Linux. So is Chrome OS. Greetings, Serge. Why companies start to do subscription models instead of one-time purchase note forever? Because it's more profitable. To break it down, to have the suite of Office software or the Adobe software that I use for my work on my old Windows computer that's still laying around, to get that same suite, I want to say it's like $45 or $50 a month. Which is like $600 a year. Okay, I bought that software package for about $1,000, I think. I bought the full software package for $1,000 in 2010. I haven't put anything else in Adobe. So which is better for your long-term sustainability of your company? $1,000 one time, or $600 a year. Well, $600 a year is better. So why did it start to happen? There was a time, if you remember back into the Windows 3.1, Windows 95, Windows 98 days, when people would pay for the latest upgrade software because it was significantly different. But how much has Photoshop changed? You know, I'll tell you, Photoshop changed a lot from CS2 to CS4. I have them both. Photoshop hasn't changed a ton since then. We have gotten to this Moore's Law point where the changes are very subtle. And so companies now, they're losing money having one-time buy-it software as opposed to subscription models. This is why gaming companies want to do loot boxes and DLCs and things like this, because it provides a revenue stream beyond the original purchase of the game. If Windows dropped all the telemetry and the BS, would you return to Windows and leave Linux behind? Probably not at this point. If they never went there to begin with, I would have not moved to Linux. But if they drop it, particularly if they drop it in response to outrage, no, that doesn't mean their motives have changed. People tend not to vote with their feet on these types of things, and they should vote with their feet. I'm moving to Debian because I'm concerned about the future of Ubuntu and Canonical. Yeah. Android is a fork of Linux? Yes. Free the hugs! Free the hugs! I'm going to have to go hug my router today. Hug my BSD router. People don't like the word Linux. When people hear the word Linux, they think about an OS without a GUI and just a terminal and nerdy stuff. Yep. Greetings, Run with the Dolphin. Almost every GUI we've created in MX has been in relation to user comments. The CLI can be faster, but point and click is hard to beat for getting your feet wet. I agree with that, and that's good, you know. And that's what I like about things. I like the option. I like the ability to get in there and do stuff. That was a big controversy in Windows 95. For the first time, you had an emulated DOS prompt. Prior to that, Windows 3.1, that one, there was no emulation about that. Of course, the terminals we have in Linux are generally terminal emulators as well, so. Okay, Windows updates can brick some machines. It bricked my machine 1 year ago. Yep. If the data collection starts to gain force, it'll need to change completely. William Nels. Nays. How do you pronounce that? I don't know. Anyway, William, I've tested a bunch of distros. In the end, they look the same. That's true. A lot of Linux distros do look the same. There's very subtle differences between most of them. Troy Hall, am I leaving Linux Mint? No, because Mint does not follow the data collection tendencies of Ubuntu. This is not the first time Ubuntu has attempted to do data collection. Mint has always stood against that type of data collection. What they're doing in Ubuntu is not something that will be forced on every downstream distro. It's going to completely depend on what the downstream distros choose to do with the push. And there is also a Mint version based on Debian as well. Something else to keep in mind. Yeah, genuinely doubt Ubuntu is in the state it currently is going to last long term. For the most part, Ubuntu has shown they no longer care about Linux on the desktop. I agree. Yeah. WhatsApp message. People ask whether I can send them virtual hugs. It count as consent. Nice. I'm going to move to Debian, like I said, but Grub just gave console and it would not get into auto boot to a deb, so I left it. Didn't want to type a ton of commands every time I want to boot. Well, there's other distros to try too, Logan. Blocking trackers, yeah, blocking trackers does speed up your internet significantly. Correct. You're not downloading hundreds of, hundreds of megabytes of JS files and then running them all in your browser. Mark, do you need a phone call? Do you think that telemetry has gained popular in recent years and XP Vista days did not have any telemetry whatever? Yeah, of course, because we, the consumers, are the thing that is for sale. That's the real problem. Watch your Red Pill video and really liked it, especially the issues raised in it. Well, good. Thank you, Intellectual Monk. That seemed to be my most controversial. I thought about doing a follow-up video to that to say, guys, I don't know what in the world Red Pill Coach and Sargon of whatever he is are whining about back and forth. I don't care. That video's about my opinions, for crying out loud. Something about drama I don't really care for. I don't know. Remember Richard Stallman ranting on Ubuntu data collection and people's searches in the dash? Yes. First Windows add a Linux command, then Ubuntu now adding Windows like telemetry. Yeah. Scary. The rise of Ubuntu-based distros. There's little incentive for new Linux users to use standard Ubuntu. Yeah, that might be a good thing down the road, huh? Sarkhanova Cod, that's it, yeah. I'll call him Sarkhanova whatever. If an OS had a terms and conditions you were able to disagree with and still use the OS afterwards, albeit restricted on features, including no telemetry, do you think you'd like the idea? Ooh, that's a good question, and it's from a distro developer, so I have to put some thought into that one. Terms and conditions you were able to disagree with and still use it, albeit restricted on features. I probably would not use it for the simple reason that there's many others that don't have the same thing. But if every distro had terms and conditions and some of them allowed me to disagree with some parts and that would disable some elements of it, I would go with that over one that I couldn't disagree with. But in the current world where we have a lot of distros without all these terms and conditions, I would use one without. Blah, drama, the very thing killing YouTube. I agree. And I had a couple people get into fights in the comments section on that over, this guy's a fraud. No, that guy's a fraud. This guy responded all that. I'm like, I was just using the red pill analogy. How far does your thought process take you? I mean, I had no idea about any of that. I didn't know any of this stuff existed. I know there was some radical feminist who converted to the opposing view and did a documentary called Red Pill. I know it exists. I've never seen it. But holy crap, I didn't realize there was an entire war going on around the word red pill. I had no idea, honestly. Well, thank you, Hiatus. Me said the energy drink. Yes. Get ready to meet old Arnold. I'll be back with the 9mm Uzi. Then we move 5-minute spread. No sound for the people. Alright, I think I'm going to jump off here in a minute. Is any final things there I want to see? Oh man. The comments keep on coming. The comments keep on coming. All right, yeah, I think I'm going to jump off here. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. I mean, this isn't the end of the world. This isn't like Ubuntu's gone to hell in a handbasket entirely. I think it's a bad step. I think it's a bad direction to be going. But overall, I wanted to clarify some of the points because a lot of people are thinking that Ubuntu would change that to be an opt-in, and it's not. It's just if you happen to be upgrading. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. And I'm going to try and read some of these comments, but you guys keep on sending some great comments. Let me read a few more of these. All right, I'll read a few more of them. I got a few minutes to kill, I think. This 10 literally bogs down my internet. Yeah. That's the thing, because it has so many connections constantly transmitting data. Now, if you're a place like I'm at, or I have, I'm pushing HD video right now at 3.5 kilobit per second. So that's 3.5 meg per second is what I'm pushing right now. But if you have, like, if I lived out in the country, a friend of mine lives out in the country, where they only get a couple kilobit per second internet speed, that slows to a crawl. Absolutely it does. And we have all that stuff, as much of that stuff turned off as we possibly can out there. But yeah, it will slow your internet to a crawl because it's constantly connecting to the servers. Should have two versions of the distro. One can be for people that want to have their data sent to help, and others who don't. Absolutely. Yes, people talking about the subsystem for Linux. Yeah, OpenSUSE, Fedora, and Ubuntu all have the subsystem for Linux and Windows 10. So it's not just Ubuntu. It became a business orientated, especially just terms and conditions. Okay. Thought for serious in the future, not anytime soon. Fair and OS. Yeah, I figured that's what you were thinking. Yeah, but if you put telemetry in it, I wouldn't recommend it, because we need to stop with telemetry. We need to stop with data collection. You want somebody's opinion, ask, and then listen. I'm going to rant. I'm going to rant. In fact, I am even considering going on fire because I am so sick, so sick of people, companies saying we're collecting all this data so that we can better serve you a product, and then they ignore 50,000 comments and user forums about things they should fix. Why don't you start by addressing the questions that people want to fix? When you get those fixed, then maybe, if you are still looking for more feedback, maybe you can think about asking their opinion rather than setting up your distro to go ahead and just start collecting. I'm sick of hearing that companies. Apple did the same stupid thing. We're collecting data so we can improve the product. Well, then why don't you improve the suggestion when 15,000 people laid the same comment on your forums to fix it, and I hadn't seen yet a single Apple employee look at that comment thread? Ask people's advice in places. If you want to know what systems are causing problems, why don't you check out the Ubuntu help forums every now and again? It's certainly better than collecting all of this system data and then trying to figure out what it is. That is why all this anti-terrorism stuff has not resulted in anything here in the United States. We've produced a dragnet that is so big it takes forever to filter through the data. Just get the data for the things you need. Sounds like Mac OS only without consent to collect my data. Yep. The problem, Antares, with Microsoft knowing how much you're on the server is they can sell that data to other people, and you thus become the product. There are a lot of difficulties with that. Where do you start throwing the ads? Where most of the eyeballs are. That will lead you to buy things you didn't want to buy, interrupting your plans. There's a lot of problems with this. Tried MX Linux, recommended Matt Hartley on the Lon Duke Show, and I found it really intuitive and full of rich features, but I doubt I'd use any of them. Okay. Biggest problem with Ubuntu is it should be opt-in. It should all be opt-in. And they should not install any of the software unless you opt into it. It's really war. It's just the alt-right wanting to monopolize the term red pill and the rest of the world disagrees. Oh boy, how exciting. As long as they go fight somewhere over there, I'll stay over here. They can go fight over there, and when they kill each other, I'll compromise their lands. It's kind of like what motivational speaker Dennis Waitley said one time in a seminar. He's like, all the oil's unburied under the sands over there in Saudi Arabia. He says, don't worry, we'll just get deep drills and suck it out from under them while they fight each other. They're typically just repos with slightly different definition. Hey man, I'm reading up some comments. You can come in or hang out there, whichever.
Hold on.
Okay. You missed me, man. I went on fire. You should see all the fire on my comment thread.
Are you live streaming?
I'm live streaming.
Alright, I can join.
Yeah. We're just kind of wrapping stuff up here. Yeah, we'll stick on, I guess, until we're kind of bored. We have 100 viewers watching right now, so.
Thanks.
Yeah. So just stay to, if you come in, just grab that chair that's over there.
May I please turn...
Hold on. Let me switch camera this way a little bit. All right, come in, you'll be fine. And then you'll kind of see where you're at. Okay, so, and I'm going to move the camera this way a little bit. So nope, this way.
This way?
This way, yep. Okay. Grab the chair that's over there.
Okay.
And then what you're going to do is, this is kind of your cutoff zone right here. So set the chair right here.
All right.
So this is co-host. Co-host came back in, and co-host likes to stay off the camera. So
yeah,
we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay. So co-host, you guys can hear co-host? Can you guys hear co-host? Say hi to co-host. How's dinner or lunch, whatever it was?
it was good. We had chili.
Chili? Sweet.
And like macaroni.
Nice.
So I blended them together
Cool.
with some cheese, and that was very good.
Very good, very good. All right, they were typically just repos, slightly different definitions. Let's see. You're receiving, Tom, are you receiving much hate because of your privacy ideas? A little bit, but not a lot. There's actually just as much support as there is hate, in all honesty. A lot of people don't care. They're like, what do you think about privacy? Like, do you think it's okay that Google and Microsoft is scooping up everything about you?
No.
Why not? I mean, come on, man. What's it matter? I'm going to move this slightly because it's out of... Okay.
I think Microsoft and Google, I don't know, like, it's not even the fact that, like, it bugs me a little bit they're taking information, but what bugs me even more is how uncovert they are about it, and just how open they are about it, and how many people just aren't reading the fine text.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just so obviously they're taking information, and they're even, like, putting it in their contracts and everything, but just the people are too blind to see everything that's happening, which is the part that kind of bugs me.
And that's the thing that bothers me the most, is that people don't think about what they're doing. They're like, I have nothing to hide. You have nothing to hide until you realize you have something to hide, but now everyone has the information, so it doesn't matter.
And even, like, the governments can make, and even, like, the government can, like, make laws on a dime and, like, ban certain things on a dime. And if you're, like, search history is there, and even if it's nothing bad, but if they ban it, like, you can even get in trouble for that, even though it was nothing bad prior, you know? Yeah.
What Edward Snowden always worried about is what happens, even if you trust your government now, what happens in 4 years when, I mean, of course we know now the Antichrist is president. I mean, what if the next Antichrist is president? I mean, what if we elect Trump for another 4 years? I mean, I don't care. I voted for Trump because I thought Hillary Clinton was the Antichrist. Trump was just a bad president, man. Red Pill movie, the documentary was pretty decent. All right, I'll have to look. But Windows was the last fight before it dies, and that is why. Well, Windows is getting started. Did you know this? Windows is now releasing ARM chips as of next month. It's in April. Always connected Windows devices that you can't lock down any further on cellular networks.
Wow, that's scary. It sounds, you know, Me and Tom just kind of watched Minority Report recently.
Yeah.
So this is all kind of like sinking in now. You know?
And there's other ones we gotta watch too. What about Debian Stable? The computer right behind me here that you can't see because it's kind of off the camera there is actually running Debian Stable. I have a few problems with the audio input. Everything else works perfectly fine. I don't have any other problems on it. What do you think about Microsoft porting PowerShell Linux? Whatever. I don't care. I'm not using Microsoft. Preach! Here we go! Fire, fire, fire! I want to fire. Cough, cough. Xturn OS. Did you guys see Xturn, the developer for Xturn, actually commented on my video? Oh, man.
You should pin the comment.
I do. Yeah, remind me to pin the comment when we're done here. Yeah. I'll pin the comment.
I will.
I'm going to pin that to the top. Seriously don't want to add telemetry as long as possible, but I'm sorry. The plan has to be thought about, just in case. You can think about it, and you can think, that switch to Linux guy's getting pretty big, and he's going to say bad things if I put telemetry in. There you go. There's your out. There's your out, man. I'm an equal opportunity offender. Ardo, how's it going there? True that. We have enough issues to consider for Ubuntu that are already known in their forum. Absolutely. And, like, if you want to know what to fix, look in your forum. If you want to tell people the type of system you got, look in the forum. A lot of your serious forum guys, they have all their system specs at the bottom of the forum posts. That's cool. So do you know what a computer fingerprint is?
A what?
Computer fingerprint?
Sounds scary.
Yeah. It's everything about your system. So Ubuntu wants to start collecting that. And so I think it's a bad idea because of the thing. It's
like privacy?
It's not as bad as Windows 10, but it's...
I mean,
it's concerning enough.
Even Windows 10 didn't appear that bad until they progressed further. I don't know. This could be the start of something, you know?
Mm-hmm. They know what users want, which way they're going. They need to make money with our data. You know, if they want to make money with our data, I'm cool with that. Give me some. Yeah, you want to sell my data? Sure. Cut me in 30, 40, 50. How about 80%? It's my data. I mean, I'll let you borrow 20%. I mean, you can make 20% profit off of my data. I mean, that's a great business. Wouldn't that be a cool business?
Yeah.
You can come in, give us all your data. We're going to sell it to anyone who wants this type of data. You get 80%. We keep 20%. That's a great business deal. If there's anyone out there in business, there it is. I'm not going to build the thing, but Microsoft seemed determined to kill off Windows. They might succeed. Because most people don't believe in anything, at least try. Don't give in. It's making you consider it. Would it be transparent about it? Okay, stuff about Gen 2. I'm so surprised that there's actually like Gen 2 people here. I'd figure they'd be still compiling their systems somewhere in the corner. Mm-hmm. You run Gen 2, though.
Do I?
Chrome OS is actually based on Gen 2.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's a Linux build. Of course, I'm not sure you'd want to run Chrome. It's just like that whole school thing. But yeah. I don't know. But it's better your school does Google than Microsoft.
But like even like I don't know. Like it's a really weird like school system battle right now, where like Microsoft owns half the computers and Google owns half the computers, and they're kind of fighting for supremacy. So,
oh boy!
It'll be interesting.
Fortunately, you only have 1 year left. Then you're out of there.
Then I'm out, man.
Hey, Lucid Theming says hello, co-host.
Yeah, hello.
Distro of choice. Distro of choice, co-host. What is your distro of choice?
I like the Ubuntu Studio because I'm a very creative person.
Yes, he's a creative human. But we couldn't get Ubuntu Studio working on the computer, so guess what, guys?
We got Mint, right?
Linux Mint. Could not get Ubuntu Studio working on the computer. Linux Mint.
Mint works too. I like Mint as well.
You might like MX.
MX?
Yeah. If Mint doesn't work out super well, maybe we'll format your hard drive and try MX Linux.
MX Linux.
Yeah, I think I don't know if, are you still on here, Run with Dolphin? One of the MX developers is actually on here right now. Not sure if he's still here, but MX is cool. I like my privacy. Continues to check Facebook every 5 minutes. So, how often do you check Facebook, co-host?
I don't have a Facebook. Well, actually, I don't have any social media.
Yeah.
I just don't like all the
We,
privacy.
we're going to
stuff.
get you a little bit for some of the work you're going to do, but you're going to use that as a business, not as a person.
No.
And that's the difference. Use this social media as a business. It's fine. Like all my authorship stuff, all my Christian videos actually get posted onto Facebook, if you know how to find my Facebook page, which I don't, honestly. But eventually I'm going to evaluate, is it worth keeping or not? I don't know. Both companies are monopolies, which is illegal. Hey, you know how Microsoft prevented itself from being a monopoly? Do you know how Microsoft prevented itself from being a monopoly in the computer industry?
Like, wasn't it something about like third-party communities? Like, I'm sorry, like third.
No. They were at risk of being the only big computer company in the world, and they did something radical. Anybody know what that was?
No.
They gave a loan to Apple so they didn't close.
That's a business move.
But if Apple closed, they would have been a monopoly. Government would have come and split them up like they did the Bell. And so what they ended up doing is keeping Apple afloat. And then funny that Steve Jobs came back and turned that thing around.
Now Apple just kind of sucks.
Yeah, they still suck, but they're still sitting on a pile of cash because somehow they managed to get this entire group of we call them on my channel, by the way, they're called iMacintologists. It's iMacintologists. Okay. They're like, Apple product, yay! It's a $500 smart speaker, yay! It doesn't do anything like any other smart speaker, but it's Apple.
I'll tell you what, I have a $75 phone and it does everything I want it to do.
Yeah, and I think I have a way to get that thing out of your thing too. I have something to try tonight.
Neat.
All right, you have anything to hide? It's a matter of principle. Yeah, I will be gone if Trump is reelected.
Hey, move to Switzerland.
There you go. It's really funny. If you're not into World War II history, look at the area Nazi Germany owned.
Yeah.
Switzerland is right in the middle of it. We're like, you ain't getting in here. Yeah, your tanks ain't getting in here, and all of our citizens are really, really armed. You come through, you die.
Actually, that graph is pretty funny to look at if you look at it.
It is quite hilarious. What do you think about current status of Mozilla? Mozilla is gone off their rocker. That's why I'm using Waterfox. I am looking for a better long-term browser that has more of a developer base than a single guy. That's completely based on Firefox, but and there's other ones out there. Like I keep meaning to look into Pale Moon and Basilisk a little bit more and see.
Pale Moon.
Yeah,
Pale Moon. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's another one kind of based on Firefox ESR, I believe. I don't know much about it. Basically, you pull off, you critically damage Windows 10 with advertising. Mozilla is banned from my business. Have you tried the community forks of Unity 8? No. I thought Unity 8 was a train wreck when it happened. I can't imagine forking it would do anything better. But maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure it could get any worse. Windows will not die soon because of so many tools which are going to be open source. I want Windows to live and thrive. I want Windows to die and rot. Do you want Windows to live and thrive or die and rot? Or somewhere in between?
I don't know. I think Windows has a place of stopping Google.
Yeah, I think it's still good for games, I guess.
I mean, it's good for games, and it's one of the only computer companies right now that's kind of stopping the progression of Google and whatnot.
What do you mean stopping Google?
Like they're one of the only competitors to Google right now, other than Apple.
Okay. Yes. Well, I think Microsoft Microsoft competes with Apple on hardware. They compete with Google for search results and things like that. Okay.
So they're kind of like
they're a strong contender.
Google, without Microsoft there, Google would be a lot more powerful.
That is a good point.
So
since Windows
somewhere down the middle.
Yeah, since Windows 10 forces you to use Bing and Edge for everything for some ungodly reason, it has actually hurt Google's share, a market share. So
now, granted, none of them are good, but
yeah, I don't use either.
but I don't fancy one company owning everything. So
yeah,
even though it's getting that way in America. corporatocracy and whatnot.
Yeah, telemetry services on Facebook and Google don't bother me. It's expected. And I agree. See, that's the thing. People are like, well, you're doing all this everywhere. I don't use all these services. I mean, obviously, I'm on YouTube right now, but the reality is I have one dedicated browser dedicated to YouTube. The computers I'm on the rest of the day are not logged into YouTube or Google accounts of any form or another. I keep things very well separated, so Google doesn't have the ability to track everything that I'm doing. And that's intentional, very intentional. I have the choice whether I have a Facebook account or whether I have Facebook on my system or not. I have that choice. But when that data collection is on my operating system, does anyone else not think do you think it's scary that Microsoft knows exactly how many pictures you've looked at?
Yeah.
Yeah. That also means they probably know what pictures you looked at.
It's like, I don't want to get into too many biblical references here, but like, like God knows like the number of hairs on your head and like
there you go.
Like Microsoft knows the pictures you've looked at and how many of them.
I wonder,
scary.
I wonder if Microsoft and Facebook are borrowing a playbook if they both have people in dark corners with a bunch of tissues. What type of picture are these guys looking at? Oh man, I don't know.
Probably. Right.
Yeah. But Facebook was open with the fact that they want you to submit your own porn to them. I mean,
yeah. Like there's that promotion of revenge porn there, which
yeah.
I don't know.
You're a bit of a hypocrite. You're using YouTube. I think I just talked about that actually. Get off Android, YouTube, and then preach. Okay, so let's go ahead and deconstruct this argument one more time. Where's my Android phone at? I don't know. Never mind. Okay,
I can look.
I do have an Android. No, you're fine. I do have an Android phone that I've stripped everything that's Google off of it entirely. It is running Lineage OS, and I sideport and oftentimes compile all of the apps that are on my phone. There is no connection to Google or not, and of course I run everything through Tor on that device. So that's my Android phone. Once again, regarding YouTube, like I just said, I have very specific browsers and very specific computers. This computer is a YouTube computer. The other computers are not YouTube computers.
So they can't cross.
Yeah, like this one that's kind of beside me here also stays logged in on Chromium because that's my media PC, and that's where I respond to comments and things like that. So no, it's not hypocrisy. It's knowing and having control. It's maintaining control. It's like look at the concept of pharmaceuticals and drugs. I don't want to be like, crystal meth, and then try and break into schools around town, Yeah,
that happened in our schools recently.
Some guy decked out on crystal meth, tried to break into the local high school. That's exciting.
He tried to break into the middle school.
Oh, he tried to break into the middle school?
The elementary school.
Oh, great. All we need, a meth addict running through the halls of a elementary school. That's kind of crazy.
And then nearly every other school other than Delta somehow was locked down because he'd never get passed down with that. Let's be honest here. Yeah, I mean, he might fit in with the drunk college students, but
there you go. Go to Penn State. They'll just another drunk college student. How to get off on that?
Pharmaceuticals.
Oh, thank you. So I mean, I don't want to do that. But on the same token, I'm not opposed to I have a big bacterial infection. Maybe I should go take an antibiotic. Okay. Controlled use is okay.
It's just more of being smart with your decisions than
correct.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. See which distro is next. Most telemetry should be legal. I agree. Should be lumped with wiretapping laws. Yeah, this is so hilarious when Extern OS said it was probably the NSA, though. I didn't ask him about that. I should ask him about that. I have my clients on DuckDuckGo now. Quack, quack, go.
Wait, isn't DuckDuckGo the eye bleeding one?
Yeah, it's gotten better. I don't, I have my Mac set to DuckDuckGo because I have DuckDuckGo, Bing, Google, and Yahoo. Thank you, Mac, for not allowing me to add other things. Of course, my default page is Start Page, but if I do some random search in there, it has to default to one of the other ones. Not on Safari, I should say. Not that I use Safari, but... All right, System 64, go get some Z's. Derpington.
It's a great
Both are gross. That is a great name. Derp. You count the amount of Linux users by counting the amount of connections to the distro servers. There you go. Yeah. Uh-oh, intellectual monk. Got the power disconnected. Fat Elvis is late from compiling. All right. This all become hilarious. Yes. We are officially done with the Ubuntu talk.
Wait, what? This stream was about Ubuntu?
This stream was about Ubuntu. Yeah, we diverged.
Just a bit.
These days, privacy is almost an illusion. That is correct, but that does not mean I'm going to roll over dead, keep all my blinds open, windows open, everything open, and, go streaking down the street. I mean, I'm just not going to do that.
I mean, we can still try to fight for privacy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ways to get around it. I think technology is a two-lane street. On one hand, it's giving the companies more power to spy on you, but there's also people rising up against it and making anti-spying software as well.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street.
So there is one company developing a new smart vacuum cleaner that is kind of like one of the robotic ones. Like I think Shark has one now. Only it has a camera on it and Wi-Fi thing, and it will quote-unquote detect the bad Wi-Fi zones in your house. So here we have an internet-connected device that has free roam over your house with a camera on it.
Okay. I don't know. I just think all smart devices are awful. But, who needs a smart vacuum?
80-20% example of plan Alphabet could do, but Microsoft guys are too stubborn to change it. Yeah. Make Linux Mint Studio. There you go. Linux Mint Studio. That's what we kind of want to do in Europe. So we want to go through Ubuntu Studio and figure out what we want to do. Oh, boy. Wrong with TrueOS. I don't know. I haven't looked at TrueOS. Schools are so independent on software developed exclusively by Windows. Aren't you using that? Is it EndNote now or OneNote? Which one is it?
We're using OneNote Microsoft.
OneNote.
I'm kind of noticing Microsoft is like a little cancer bacteria that seeps into schools and spreads slowly, of course.
It does. It's just once it gets in there, it's like getting that bacteria inside your yogurt. It just breeds.
But I predict Google will be gone in the next 5 years in schools. They have a pretty good threshold, but Microsoft is just making so many things free for schools these days.
Okay, we are only halfway through the comments. I mean, this is crazy. We're not going to get to all these guys. We're not going to get to all these at all because we have a busy day today too. So I just scan through these and see if there's anything else. Oh, wait. Cannot hear the co-host. Aw, you can't hear the co-host.
Boo-hoo.
Okay. You know about how do you theorize that Asia Pi is a robot? Front page tech on YouTube theorized Mark Zuckerberg is one too. I saw that. Do you think Mark Zuckerberg is a robot?
I won't be surprised. His smile is just as robotic as Asia Pi's.
We should get Asia Pi and Mark Zuckerberg in a room. I bet it would be just like the... let's see if I can find the video. See if I can find that video of two smart speakers talking to each other. You see this?
No.
This was on a live stream. Somebody left it on for 36 hours. It was quite hilarious. Blah, 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 blah. Of course, I don't have audio. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this was a conversation. Let me go ahead and post this in the comments
that's
here.
right.
Yeah, so this guy put two smart speakers right next to each other, and they carried on a conversation for 36 hours straight. And it's just kind of like, yeah. Okay, so Evie, you scare me. Why did I scare you? I thought you were cheating. We missed you on the server. How old am I? 25. Are you a boy? A boy or a pirate? Oh, I'm a ninja. I mean, it's just crazy. And
I'm not a big fan of smart devices, but I would love to I would love to do that.
Yeah,
that sounds fantastic.
Fun. Get all of them. Of course. If we go in the full spectrum of everything, I think that the one that's probably the most, I don't know, I think Google's is most advanced. So in the spectrum, Google's is the extrovert. He just keeps talking, collecting input, carrying on a conversation, probably with Alexa, because that one is also, it's there conversational. And then poor little Siri is going to be back on the side, sitting there going, I just don't know what to say because
Wait.
I'm so limited in what I can do.
Wait.
It's the introvert.
I got it.
What's that?
Let's have a Google Home watch another Google Home grow up.
Let's call it Aristotle.
That'd be fascinating.
Scary. That's very scary. Switch looks more like it doesn't do anything and it poops on wooden surfaces permanently. Yes, the Apple Smart Speaker he's referring to. It was IBM that was in danger. That's why MS became big. No, actually, they also bailed out Apple. They bailed out both IBM and Apple.
So they have pretty high stakes in the...
Oh, yeah. Apple in a nutshell. Incoming phone call, screw you. Going to keep the screen black. That was a problem with the illustrious iPhone 10. Some calls were coming in on some devices and you couldn't answer the call. Great.
Boy.
Can you use your sync account with WaterFox? I have no idea. I don't sync stuff to clouds. How is it different? It is basically Firefox with all of the weirdness, telemetry, etc. pulled out of it. Ubuntu 8 is alive and kicking. 100% UB ports now.
Yikes.
Trump is awesome.
I mean, he's business smart, but...
He's business smart?
And this country some could argue this country is just a business.
Yeah, well...
But it's... I don't know, like... He's making me a little bit shaky on the whole foreign communications side of things.
I think Trump's idea of foreign communications is, where's that red button?
Yeah, really. And that's Kim Jong-un's.
Anybody ever see that Ren and Stimpy? What do you mean you don't agree with me? Half the world was, huh? I think it was a quarter of the world, actually.
Oh yeah, the Ren and Stimpy with the shiny red button.
Yeah. No, it was a different one. It was Ren's or Stimpy's fan club, I think the episode was called. Stimpy had a fan club and Ren was getting all upset because he didn't have a fan club too, and so Stimpy hires Ren to be the president of his fan club and respond to notes like president. And it goes to a flashback. He was on the phone. What do you mean you don't agree with me? It's good.
Welcome to 80s.
Apple survives on Starbucks, as it won the other day, is nearly the only person with a non-Apple laptop. I agree. I concur. I go in there with Linux every now and again.
That's edgy.
Oh, boy. What about a Facebook alternative? I don't want a Facebook alternative. I just want Facebook to die.
If I ever become, like, mega rich, and I just have, like, billions of dollars to throw away, I just might buy all these, like, companies that are pretty toxic and just kill them.
There you go. Buy it, put it out of its misery. Kind of like those philanthropists that buy the student loans and just forgive them. James Miller says, hello, Tom and co-host.
Hello.
James Miller's from our great state of Pennsylvania.
Ooh.
All right. Co-host is a ghost. Yes.
I'm a ghost, yeah.
Switch link. Any work on cubes? Yes. I actually have an entire series on cubes. You can check that out. Shoot me some comments there if you have questions, and I should get them, hopefully. I want to see Tom using GNOME. Huh. Not anytime soon. I hate GNOME. I have a couple videos, though, William. If you want to go see me on GNOME, I have a couple videos on GNOME. I can go back and you can go back and watch those. If it is by year, is that mate or mate? Just choose wallpaper for each year group. There you go. See, I don't know. You use MATE. I don't know if you're talking about mate or mate over here. Okay. Hello, Charlie. Yeah, we've dropped down to 20% of people jumped off here, so I think we're about to jump off here as well. Social networking dying would be good. Buying something to kill it sounds pretty SJW-ish. You an SJW?
I'm not, but hey, man, they're like superpowers at this point.
Yeah, there you go.
Like the government's just gonna keep and these other big companies are just gonna keep bailing them out if we don't buy them out and kill them ourselves. I feel like.
Okay, Skull Leader asks you a question, Mr. Co-host. Got to think about this in your scope of things. Why would you want to put 10 out of every 1,000 people out of work? What's that? 1 in 100 people out of work. Closing on all the social networking is going to put 1 out of every 100 people out of work. How are you going to fix those jobs?
That's a good question.
Ooh, you stumped them. You stumped them.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm of the opinion that the way of the future is through the internet. Because I feel like robots are just taking over jobs. Anyway, so
what if you start a small hacking group to kill all the robots, and that way the humans can go back to work?
That'd be cool. It would be like the anti-Terminator revolution.
There you go. Are you John Connor?
Maybe.
My Debian computer software update cache refresher won't finish. How do you fix it? I don't know. I'd have to see the error, and then I would probably have to look up the code. All right, I think we've reached the bottom of these, so we're going to go ahead and jump off here. Should we try and find the kitty? Is Kitty back in the box? I got the kitty. Don't worry. Kitty!
I wonder if the chat heard that.
Okay. Come here, you. Come here.
Nope, kitty.
Gotta end this guy right. Well, we're getting ready to feed the kitty. I do have things like this mouse pad available, shop.switchtolinux.com. I have mouse pads, coffee cups, and water bottles, things like that, t-shirts, a lot of other stuff. Also, check out switchtolinux.com/support for other ways you can help support the channel. And there's a kitty. Oh, I gotta get that camera there. You want to feed one?
Sure.
Okay. Just make sure you put it in the view of the camera. There you go.
He's a good kitty.
Yeah, you want more? One more, kitty? One more? Aww. Are they finger looking good? Are the finger looking good?
Aww.
They're finger looking good. I'd rather have more homeless people than social networking living.
Look, your cat. He's just on the table.
Yeah, he's chilling. He's chilling. All right, folks, we are gonna jump off. So thanks for coming along, and we'll chat with you later.
Bye.